Welcome to another episode of Women Investing in Women. As we just wrapped up celebrating our 2-year anniversary, we are absolutely delighted to bring back a guest who has been a part of this community from the inception, not the first one, but the first person Robin talked to and the first woman who has been engaged outside of Sister Julia. And we are not only delighted to bring Mary Lou into this conversation, but I'm actually delighted because she and I and Robin and her, we have all built this beautiful friendship where we truly are able to lift each other up and support each other outside of the professional world, truly to show up in our own power to lift each other up. And that is truly the impact we are trying to create here. And Mary Lou embodies that kind of a relationship and that kind of a bond with us. So I am going to allow Robin to do the introduction and get this conversation started. And I am super thrilled.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. This is absolutely wonderful that Mary Lou is here because I shared during our anniversary, very small, mighty but powerful anniversary, that this whole adventure started because I was at a Powerful Living Experience conference in Austin, Texas in February of 2023. And I had been sitting in on another podcast that Cass does called Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks, Getting It Just Right. And I had been attending that every Saturday for many, many, many months. And Cass and I had known each other professionally and then personally for many years. Well, I'm at this conference and she texts me and she says, "Hey, my guest on Saturday can't show up. Can you hop on and we'll talk about how women support each other?" I said, "Sure." So I'm in my volunteer t-shirt, I'm in my hotel room, and we're talking about women helping other women and women not helping other women. And in the middle of this, she said, "You know what? We are going to start a new podcast called Women Investing in Women, and you're going to be my co-host." And we're going to start it next month. We're going to start it in March, which was like in about 10 days for Women's History Month. And I said, "Okay, sounds good. Let's do it." And that's how it was truly organic. It just sprang out of Cass's mouth and out of her head. And I said, "Okay, let's run with it." Well, I left that podcast, sorry, went downstairs back to my conference. And I was kind of standing by the door where people would line up to then go into the session. And I was on the volunteer, so I kind of stood by the door. I started chatting with this woman behind me who turned out to be Mary Lou. And she talked about how she worked with women, that women get Alzheimer's at a greater degree than men, and working with women to help prevent Alzheimer's. I said, "Well, you know what? We're going to have a podcast called Women Investing in Women. We're just starting it. But do you want to be our guest?" And so the very first guest was Sister Juanita, the nun who helped Cass when she fled Sri Lanka as a teenager from a civil war. She fled to India, and this nun took her and her siblings and other young girls in. And then Mary Lou here was our second guest, and talked about this amazing work that she was doing with women and Alzheimer's. And now Mary Lou has an additional absolutely amazing, wonderful thing that she's doing. So I'm going to turn it over to Mary Lou. And this is truly a reunion full circle moment. So tell us now what you were doing. We're so excited to hear about it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It is an honor and a privilege to share space with you, and I'm very, very grateful. So let me also connect the dots for you in terms of, so I spoke about Alzheimer's and the first protocol that's been shown to prevent and reverse. I'm a board certified health and wellness coach. We know that changes to the brain start 20, 30 years or more before symptoms show up. And I know that I do my best work with women in their 30s and 40s. However, when I was trying to get my business off the ground, the only people that were really coming to me were like in their 60s or 70s, or you need to speak to my parents or my mom. And I'm like, man, I am not getting to my audience who I really wanted to target and with whom I know I do my best work. So anyway, fast forward, last year, last fall, I started as a mentor at the Gordon Institute of Engineering Leadership at Northeastern University in Boston. And so I mentor master's students during a very rigorous 11-month program. And so they're in their early career professionals. So that's definitely who I'm targeting. A big focus of that program is psychological safety and teaming. So that's one nugget. And then at Wimbledon in 2023, it was announced that the men's tour was going to go to all electronic line calling in 2025. So I started to think about, where did I learn all of my skills to do great teaming? And it was when I was an official in my 20s and early 30s as a global professional tennis umpire. And that was, the environment there was the most psychologically safe. It was the highest performing teams. And so I looked at tennis officiating through the lens of nervous system and neuroscience and heart science, about how to stay aligned in our mind, body, and soul, even when there's difficult things happening around us. And how do I bring out the best in myself and others on teams? And so all these points are converging. So my book's coming out the end of the summer, beginning of fall. It's Lessons from the Tall Chair, the 6 social skills for psychological safety and joy at work. And I really do mean it. That job was joy at work, day in, day out. And I'm really super excited to say I have also recently been hired as a part-time lecturer at Northeastern University. And I'm teaching a course called Leading Self and Others to PhD students. So this course has only been offered at the Boston campus for the last 4 or 5 years. And I'm actually teaching the first cohort outside of the United States in London right now. So we're just about halfway through the course. And again, it's around leadership, psychological safety, and teaming. And I'm just so thrilled to be working with this group to hopefully get to the root cause, so that they never have the physical issues at work. That, if you remember too, I lost my hearing in my right ear from what I was convinced was 20 years of chronic stress at work. So I was the healthiest when I was a tennis official and dealing in acute stress situations. And I was the unhealthiest when I was in my corporate jobs, where I was in a constant state of what I call low burn, slow burn, chronic stress and inflammation, which then does all these other nasty things to the body. So it is connected.
Everything is connected, right? And we were talking earlier about why women are the larger population that gets Alzheimer's, because we're the ones who sacrifice sleep to care for everybody. So the sacrifices we make in the 30s and 40s as we start our families, as we care for our aging parents, raise our children, all of that has a long-term effect. And the body has
Absolutely.
a memory of its own, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's only going to increase because women have to work and raise a family now. It's not one or the other.
Yes.
You got to do both,
Yes.
right? So
And
as
what
we continue this conversation, Mary Lou, I know you are really focused in helping women and helping younger women so that they get to live the life they're intended to live as they age, right? Because
yes.
women investing in their own well-being and having a line of sight for what this means, because what we plant is what we reap, what we nurture is what we reap. Talk to us a little bit about what advice would you have for younger women and younger men, for young people, about how to support each other and make sure the lifestyle choices in the 20s and 30s and 40s, how important they are.
Yes. So one of the things I'm thinking of, so through the Gordon Institute at Northeastern, they have a spider chart, is what we call it, of 14 leadership capabilities. And one of them is really around self-advocacy and communication. So what I'm thinking about, to answer your question, is to know ourselves, know our true self, not our false self, know our true selves, really know what we want. So checking in with our values. So one thing I talk about a lot too is, we're all born in a family, in a place, in a culture, in a system, and things get imprinted on us from the day we're born. But as we get older, we have an opportunity to check in to say, is that still true for me? And is that, as I get into my young adulthood, are those my beliefs or those somebody else's beliefs that actually are a limiting belief for me?
This is really, oh, go ahead.
No, so I say it's a combined with a checking in with myself in terms of, okay, who am I now as an adult? And then what do I really want? And how do I ask for it so that others understand, and self-advocate for myself that is in alignment with my values? Always respectfully, of course, right? But that's where I start. That to me is the root cause, is my core beliefs, and checking in with myself. Are some of these either limiting beliefs or they no longer serving me?
This is really fascinating, this notion of self-advocacy, and also the notion of who am I, and does that change over time? But getting back to the notion of self-advocacy, I would say that is really hard. That is really hard to advocate without feeling like you're being pushy, you're inconveniencing someone else. So how do you help women, or anyone for that matter, find that balance of self-advocacy without being kind of nagging, complaining, entitled, kind of those negative things? So how do you strike that balance?
Thank you for this question. I love it, because this is one of the things I talk about in my book, and I relate it back to the culture of tennis officiating. So there's this, I'm looking for let's call it a framework, but that's not the right word, but it's Dunbar's number. I don't know for those not familiar with it, the Dunbar was a British anthropologist who said we can only maintain 150 relationships at any given time. And think of it as expanding concentric circles. And what I talk about in tennis is, and it's the same, I am getting to your question. You had one key person who was I'm dating myself, but your cone of silence, that was your person you could download to or talk to, or your key person that you could express your anger, your fear, your concerns, your doubts, and you did. It was a very tight shared relationship with another. And then the next ring is 5 people, and that the saying of you become like the 5 people you hang around with the most. It is being very careful about who are those 5 people around you. And then in terms of modeling and role modeling and mentoring, and your safe space, your safe place, and your safe people too. So instead of you might want to just really let off some steam with somebody else, but get one of those people to use as your sounding board. And I do remember like my worst, so at Grand Slam events, we would get anywhere from 25 to 30 evaluations during like 2.5 weeks. And I got the worst evaluation of my life at the Australian Open. And I had just been newly minted with a very prestigious silver badge. I got reprimanded by the supervisor, and I sought out those 5 people who were, most of them other women. And this was on a men's match. So I really leaned into those women to talk through it, to say, how do you do it? What do you think about? I really leaned into that group, not only for support, but also about how to grow and forgive myself. Because we all make mistakes. I don't know if I answered your question.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I always say there are no mistakes, there are learning opportunities, right? Good, bad, right, wrong, correct, mistake. These are rules put in place by those who want to control us. But if you never fall off a bicycle, you never learn. And so
Never
I
stretch
always say English doesn't have enough words because it was intentionally constructed for a purpose. And it's not necessarily to let people live in their own place of power, right?
Yeah.
So there are no mistakes in life. There are teachable, learnable moments. And the sooner we create those teachable, learnable moments, the stronger we are, the resilient we are, and the greater the impact we create becomes, right? So to me, language, I use that kind of language because it is more powerful and allows us to live in a space of abundance.
Absolutely. And just to follow on that, Billie Jean, there's 3 quotes of hers that I use all the time. And to your point, Kaz, number 1 is, she says, it's feedback, not failure. It's number 1. Another one I love that I use is champions adjust. So, if I hit a dead end or a wall or something, I adjust. And then the last one is actually stenciled on to the wall as players walk onto the US Open center court, which is pressure is a privilege. So actually, the more I am pushing my growth, or as I advance in my career, I've earned the spot.
Absolutely.
I've earned the spot, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Robin.
Yeah, that is a fabulous thing that you just said. I've earned the spot. And I'm wondering if that concept can help us become better self-advocators. That if we can believe, yes, I did this good thing, or I, worked hard and I reached this level, or I learned whatever I'm good at. And so therefore, I deserve to advocate for myself. And that doesn't mean I have to
Absolutely.
put other people down, but it's okay for me to advocate for myself.
Yeah,
And I'm now linking this back to your original visit 2 years ago. That by self-advocating, by first of all acknowledging to ourselves that we are worthy, that we can do good things, we are capable, and then take appropriate steps for self-advocacy, if that could help reduce our stress level, our inflammation level, and that just creates better health all the way around.
100%, Robin. And also the other piece I want to tie this I've earned the spot to, because it came up in my third class with my students, is I want women especially, and I'm seeing more men experiences too. Um, I kind of want to say, please stop with the imposter syndrome. You have earned the spot. You have earned the spot, and you're there for a reason. So own it. Like own it. And again, the importance of that core group is to be around this group of people that you buoy each other. We're there for each other. And I'll say also in the context of tennis officiating, key people who helped pull you through the system or said, okay, there's somebody who has potential, and we're going to give them opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the last thing I'm thinking a lot about is still I'll call it the leftover. I was just thinking about it today. Some leftover thinking from COVID. We are not meant to live in isolation. And it's impossible to do anything alone or by ourselves well and in health. And we need each other.
Absolutely. Health and life. Life doesn't begin
Yes.
alone. Life doesn't end alone, right? When people
No.
tell me they came into this world alone, I tell them, no. Your mother carried you to term for 9.5 months, and she had to push and go through pain and suffering to help you come out. And there were medical professionals around you. No, you did not come by yourself. Unless you fell from the sky, you did not.
Yeah,
And when this life is
exactly.
over, at least 4 people have to carry you to your final resting place. So no, life doesn't begin or end alone. And it's a reminder that everything in between, we have to live and function in community, right? So I love the message you're sharing. I am always appreciative of your perspective.
Oh,
And it's amazing how time flies. So
yeah.
before we go any further, I would love for you to take a moment and share with our audience your book release date, your book title, where they can find it, and where they can find you.
Sure. Thank you very much. So, my book release is going to be, I don't have it'll be the end of summer, or probably August, September. The title is Lessons from the Tall Chair: The 6 Social Skills for Psychological Safety and Joy at Work. My website is simplybettermind.com. And so you can join my readers list, and I'll keep folks updated there. And you can contact me with any questions. And that's where people can find me, simplybettermind.com, or I'm on LinkedIn also.
Beautiful. Robin, do you have any closing thoughts here?
Yeah, just this has been an absolutely wonderful conversation, and both conversations were fantastic 2 years ago. Our second guest, and now you are our first guest. How serendipitous is this? You are our first guest to launch our third year of Women Investing in Women. So there you go, Justo. Like you said, there are no mistakes in the universe. We're so glad that
No.
this worked out.
Oh my
And
gosh.
life happens the way it's supposed to, Mary Lou. So this
Agreed.
is how it was meant to, right? So
Yes.
we are so grateful that you are a part of the Women Investing in Women community.
Well,
We are grateful that we are truly women in community, heart-centered and supportive of one another. And let's keep building, let's keep talking, let's keep supporting, because this is how we were meant to be. This is our purpose in life, and our purpose is to live in a way that we give everybody else the right to live their purpose and the freedom to pursue their purpose. And to our audience out there, remember, you were created by your maker uniquely to be you. Nothing about you is imposter. Nothing about you is a mistake. Because if that is so, then your maker made a mistake, and there are no mistakes from the maker. So stop listening to people putting thoughts and words in your mind, because you are uniquely you for a purpose. Go live that purpose. And as long as it makes sense to you, surround yourself with people who can support you. And your purpose is your gift from your maker. Live that gift, give that gift away, and don't throw it away. Because if you question yourself, you're questioning why you were created and what you comprise of us. And that is not the question we should ask, because there are no mistakes.